Services Selection Board has its initiation somewhere in the German army after the First World War debate, where they dovetailed the psychology part into the officer selection. German army had developed these three techniques, which we call it GTO technique, psychology, and interview technique. These three techniques initially they had addressed the three aspects of personality: what we think, what we speak, and what we do.
In one sentence, if you want to tell the audience what is SSB testing, what is basically they're looking for?
Armed forces are we are looking for intelligent. Then secondly is a friendly person, like a person who's able to adjust in a team, work in a team. Third aspect, which probably anybody will understand, the person with lots of self-confidence. And the fourth is,
what is one problem that you see in these aspirants?
Today, the environment which is training students, many students get trained in only one aspect. Right? Students are studying, they're only studying. Now, students who are into games and sports, they only go into games and sports.
Young candidates would be scared of psych technique the most.
You are with your own self, you can't talk to anybody. And there's a lot of time pressure on a candidate. So it's just pure thoughts translating into words. That's why it's the most difficult.
If there's one mistake, tell your students that this is a no-no.
If you find that you're lying, really going to be backfiring as well.
Now we have seen women officers also integrate in the trial services.
Girls are competing very well. He says, sir, she's putting us all to shame. Sir, whenever we have the cross-country race, she's always ahead of us. That the vacancies which the NDA gave to girls are, I think, about 25 vacancies, Army, Navy, Air Force included, and 1,75,000 girls applied in that window, which was specially opened. That shows the motivation for the girls to serve the nation with defense forces.
Journey to become an officer in the Indian Armed Forces isn't just about exams, it's about leadership, courage, and performing under pressure. Central to this process is the Services Selection Board, or SSB, 5-day evaluation that shapes future leaders of the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Today, we are joined by Colonel MP Singh, who served nearly 3 decades in the Indian Army and spent over 6 years as an SSB assessor. After retirement, he's been mentoring defense aspirants, helping them bridge the gap between civilian life and the demands of the armed forces. In this conversation, we'll explore the SSB system, the qualities it looks for, the role of education and extracurricular in leadership, and how candidates can prepare themselves in today's rapidly changing world. Get ready to step inside the mind of an officer and see what it really takes to lead. So, without further ado, let's get started. Colonel MP Singh, welcome on the IFO Publisher. It's an honor to have you here today, sir.
Thank you so much.
Today, we're going to discuss about something that is really close to your heart, which is SSB training. But before that, I want to understand from you what pulled you towards SSB training, sir.
So actually, I've done about 30 years of service in Army as an officer. I joined Army in 1988, and when I left in 2018, while I was in service, I was selected to be assessor twice. So I've had about 6 years of experience as a team at SSB. So I was a group testing officer. And so after completing my mandatory years in the armed forces, when I came out, I realized that there is a lot of gap in this aspirants who are wanting to join as officers, but they have no idea, especially the ones who are from civil background, the ones whose parents are doing some business or into some other jobs. Their children, though they get really enamored by these uniforms, and they also want to try up to written, they are able to do it because written is conducted by UPSC, so they are about the syllabus based. But when it comes to SSB, they are totally clueless. And there were so many academies who are guiding the students. I found a gap in the students when I was in part of the SSB. That time also students used to come. So when I came out, I thought maybe my experience would be of some advantage to these students who have no idea about what defense forces are looking for in the leadership ranks, that is the officer ranks. So with that in mind, I started in a very small way in my own town where I settled down. And slowly now it has grown to quite a big institute in itself.
We'll speak about it later again, sir, about your your initiative that you've been working on. And I've got a set of questions that I wish to ask you. But before that, I want to understand from you, Service Selection Board. What was the origin of it? I mean, we gained independence in 1947, and of course, we needed our armed forces to bring out top quality officers.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some learning that we had from other nations on when it comes to officer leadership skills.
So, you see, Services Selection Board as a process for selecting the leader for armed forces, that's the officer cadre, has its initiation somewhere in the German army after their First World War debacle. That is where they, dovetailed the psychology part into the officer selection. Right, I had gone and read some books on this, where the German army had developed these three techniques, which we call it GTO technique and the psychology technique and the interview technique. These three techniques initially they had prepared to test the three aspects of personality.
Mhm.
The three aspects of personality being what we think, what we speak, and what we do. So these three as facets are basically judging a person from three angles: what he thinks, what is his mind thinking, what is he speaking, what he speaks, and what does he do, the actions he takes part. And very interestingly, when German army developed this, other armies also adopted it, and we of course adopted from the British army.
Mhm.
So after that, when the British army left and the Indian army came into being after 1947, so there was a psychological research wing called PRW, which was formed under the Ministry of Defense, and which has subsequently now called as DIPR, that's part of the DRDO, Defense Institute of Psychological Research. That is the main body which handles the selection process. Well, the selection boards are spread across the country for Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. But the syllabus, the methodology is all handled by the DIPR. Mhm. So we adopted the system, and in 1999, we just added one day. It was a 4-day system developed by these armies, and we added one day. We call it the stage one, and it is basically a filtration process. So we can call more number of students, and then select the ones who have some chance, and we take them to stage two. That is the 4-day system. So this is the kind of a backdrop the SSB has come from, and the name also carries, different countries have different names. Like British has called War Office Selection Board. We have Services Selection Board, right? So naval SSBs sometimes are called naval selection boards. So anybody and everybody who's going to be officers of defense forces of a
Mhm.
country
Mhm.
has to go through this process of this 5-day selection.
So what I've understood is SSB is ideally testing a leadership quality of an officer, of an individual who is aspiring to be an officer. But if because you understand it deeply, if there was in one sentence, if you want to tell the audience what is SSB testing, what is basically they're looking for?
So see, the normally heard things are OLQs. Everybody who's now wanting to go for SSB is thinking in terms of how do I develop these 15 OLQs. The SSB also at the end of this process, they tell the candidates, okay, this is what we were looking for.
Officer-like qualities.
Officer-like qualities called OLQs. But what are OLQs? OLQs are basically leadership traits, as the armed forces want the leaders to be.
Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to take a quick moment and ask for a favor. We noticed that 93% of you who watch our content regularly aren't subscribed yet. My promise to you is simple. If you hit that subscribe button, we'll keep working hard to bring thought provoking conversations, incredible guests, and the topics you really care about the most. It is practically free for you, but it makes a huge difference for us, helping us grow, reach more people, and bring even better content your way. Thank you for supporting. It means the world to us. Now let's get back to the video.
Right. So leadership traits for corporate world could be slightly different. They are looking for some slightly different qualities and maybe some common qualities. But the armed forces over a period of time have developed these 15 qualities, which they call it OLQs. And the process of selecting, making these 15 qualities is very interesting one, which happened in the early 50s.
Mhm.
So they wrote, the PRW that time wrote a letter to all senior officers, and they asked them, what qualities would you like to see in a young officer? So once they, gave their opinion about what qualities they would like, then they combined them together, and, with a series of, you know, meetings and deciding, they homed down to these 15 qualities. Now, this is what SSB is looking for specifically, but in general, for a layman or a total civilian student who's now thinking about becoming a officer in the armed forces, I would without going into these technical names of 15 OLQs, I'll just give you four things. One is armed forces are we are looking for intelligent people. First thing is they should be intelligent.
How do you define intelligence?
Yeah, intelligence is a very big thing. So there are various things. It could include general awareness. It would include your ability, inquisitiveness. It could include your knowledge of the environment in which you are going to, your surroundings,
Curiosity?
curiosity. So all
Hmm.
these things put together, it could also, in terms of, tests and all we do, intelligence tests. So all things put together in a generic term, we are looking for intelligence student. It could also, at some stage include how's been your academic performance. So everything put together, we are looking for intelligence, number one. Then secondly is a friendly person, right? A person who's able to adjust in a team, work in a team, right? So that there are two, three qualities which judge that ability of person to work in a team. The third aspect, which probably anybody will understand, a person with lots of self-confidence, right? Self-assuredness he should have. And the fourth, but not the last one, is courage, ability to take decisions,
Hmm.
right? So these are the, if I, put them into a broad framework, are the ones we are looking, these are the kind of traits we're looking for. Well, specifically, if you go into 15 OLQs, anybody can, Google it and find it out.
Hmm.
But then each quality also has its own intricacies. Probably you would need another special session where I would talk of each quality and how they could develop, how a person who's wanting to become a leader, if he feels that he needs to develop, these qualities are all developable. It's not that it can't be developed, right?
So these qualities that you mentioned are all high order thinking qualities when it comes to the armed forces or the corporate world where the leadership qualities are similar, like you said. But as young officers, aspirants, how do you expect them to be so well versed with these qualities, sir?
No, actually we don't want them to be well versed. When I went for my SSB, I didn't even know the definition or the meaning of OLQ. I didn't even know this word actually. When I went for my SSB, that was of course 1988, right? I was studying in my college that time. So, a student, I think today a person is very, intelligent. He can Google it and he can check it out. But in our time, we were not, and the assessors were assessing us, and they were seeing OLQs in us. But
Hmm.
we had developed all this being part of our school activities and college activities. So if you see all these qualities which are listed out, a student, a good student who's outgoing, who's taking part in activities at school level, college level, he's on the stage, he's on the ground. So
Hmm.
all kind of activities, if a student does uh, in a deliberate manner, being a good student, he will develop all these qualities. And then SSB is doing the job of assessing them. So I feel as such, these qualities will develop in each candidate, each student, if he focuses on his studies and is focuses on his school and college level, it automatically develop. However, knowing them today environment, yeah, it can be done because things are available.
So you're saying that in order to be proficient and to make it easy for you to, get selected in the SSB to be an officer and get these leadership traits, this work starts much before that. At the school level, when you are participating in a lot of co-curricular activities, sports, you're in sports teams,
Yeah.
you are taking some leadership take, you are giving, inspiring your camaraderie as well. So do you think that that's where it starts?
Yeah, you see the chain of Sanic schools and military schools in our country. They're focusing on these things. They're focusing on academics. They're focusing on the students who are taking part in the games or taking part in other activities. So at the end of it, they make a person an all-round personality, and all-round personality is something what defense force are looking for.
So you interact with a lot of SSB aspirants, officer level aspirants, and through SSB is what they can achieve that. What is one problem that you see in these aspirants? What do you see that they are not seeing things clearly when it comes to clearing SSB, but their motive is different?
See, Shivam, I feel today the environment, when initially said that we want an all-round kind of a person who's good in all these things, right? He could be intelligent, he could be outgoing, he could be a lot of confidence. today the environment which is training students, many students get trained in only one aspect. I feel somebody today who's focusing on academics, who's focusing, wants to be into IITs and wants to be a doctor, he's only focusing on academics, right? He leaves all other things aside. So I will tell you, one student of mine long back, he was preparing for this IIT and all, and he was sitting at home and hours of study. Suddenly one day he decided, I want to join the NDA. So then he approached me, and I said he had 97, 98% in class 12th, and he was taking a drop and preparing for this. When I told him what is SSB looking for, when he used to go out, he had become obese, sitting at home and just studying, and start doing some physical activity, start playing some games. Because when you play game, you develop leadership traits, you develop team qualities, right? So I did this mentoring of this boy for about 6, 8 months, and kind of trying to overhaul him and put him into this. He got selected and became an officer, right? So that's what actually there's a gap today, because if students are studying, they're only studying. Now, students who are into games and sports, they only go into games and sports. They leave the studies. They have got very less scores. So this is what our environment has become. Though from the student point of view, a parent point of view, they want the child to go in IITs. So they tell him just study. They'll start off from ninth, 10th onwards, right? But they leave the other aspect to, that doesn't develop. So that is where the problem area is. That to sensitize the environment, I go to a lot of schools and colleges. I tell the students, be a good student, focus on your academics, but don't leave the other extracurricular activities, games and sports. Once we have all these things in a student, he is a suitable candidate for us.
Sir, while you answered this, something in my mind came as well. The times have changing. We are seeing a lot of technological advancement. We are seeing, a lot of gadgets that, keep our youngsters busy. What do you think as time progresses and technology progresses as well? What does a person who's aspiring to join the armed forces should focus on and utilize technology in the best possible way?
See, technology is coming in a big way in armed forces also. We were just discussing before this interview how, the cyber aspects and how the drones and AI systems are being, you know, brought into the armed forces. A lot of innovations are taking place. So we do want students, officers to be technologically very bright. They should be aware. So accordingly, a lot of engineers are being taken in, or technical people are being taken in also as part of the technical ops. So the doors are open for every kind of a specialization which the environment is creating today. And well, once all these specialists, who have done their engineering and other things, they come in there, they are trained in these academies, NDA, IMA, OTA, AFA, INA, into one lot of leaders for the future. So basically, what is SSB doing? They're picking up the leadership traits, a person who has the potential to be trained, and they send them to these academies where their skills are sharpened, they're honed to be the future leaders of armed forces.
How do they utilize technology in the best possible way in terms of learning, in terms of connecting with people? Not just, in today's time, we see a lot of our generation, the youngsters, just waste their time on social media or, but how should they channelize that energy into something productive?
No, right now, I think what the students should channelize their energy is to use the internet and other to learn, to develop their own qualities. And I also feel that students don't need to spend too much time on social media, rather go out on ground. Only what is required to be done. Social media as such doesn't really benefit much people, except they expand their friendship basis. But I think yes, internet is something which everybody out is using for learning purpose. And especially would say the defense aspirants, yeah, come out and be on ground, do some physical activity as well as from the studies. So that's also going to be a very important aspect, because Indian Armed Forces, they are operating in land, air, and water everywhere, right? So system will get incorporated when they come into the defense forces. We have all these gadgets and all specialized gadgets which they will be taught the use. So basically, a student, they should be aware about what is latest things happening in AI or in the fields of digital fields. Thereafter, rest of it will be trained.
So let's break down SSB for our audience, young audience who would want to, you aspire to be in the armed forces. You said there are 3 tests. It's a 5-day test,
Yeah.
and there are 3 aspects that they're looking for in any leader.
What are those aspects, sir?
So when a candidate reaches SSB on the arrival day, they are put through a series of tests, which is very basic test called OIR. OIR is basically types of multiple choice questions. Basically, do with intelligence tests. They call it OIR, Officer Intelligence Rating. So there are two sets. One is verbal and one is non-verbal in nature. About 50 questions each. They give about half an hour each. So it's on a sheet. They just have to take the right answer. So that gives us an idea about their basic intelligence, how many they are able to do, what marks they get. And after that, they are put through a test called PP and DT, which is picture perception and discussion test, where they have flashed a picture on a big screen for 30 seconds, and then they're supposed to write a story, and then after that they discuss it out. So this is on the very first day. So this result is combined, and then the students whom we find some potential, they are taken to the rest of the three techniques which we just mentioned: psychology technique, group testing technique, and the interview technique. So probably we'll need a separate session to talk of these three techniques, because each technique has got number of tests part of it. So if we have a separate session, I would be able to explain slightly more detail what we are looking for and how the candidate should prepare.
Sir, these three techniques that you mentioned, what I perceive is that the young candidates would, be scared of psych technique the most. Would you agree? And if that is true, what should their focus be?
So basically, before that, I'll also come to a very interesting aspect of these three techniques. We also call it Mansa, Vacha, Karmana. So these three words, Mansa, Vacha, Karmana, are words from our scriptures. When this system was being adopted by the Indians, so we went to details that these psychologists, German psychologists or the British ones, they had checked what a person thinks, what a person speaks, what a person does. So these three aspects of personality. When we read our own scriptures, I would like to mention two scriptures here: Gita and Guru Gita. There are two in which this three words are there: Mansa, Vacha, Karmana. In Gita, I've read myself. Krishna Bhagwan says that if you worship me with your thoughts, with your words, and with your good deeds, you achieve me. Right. These three words: Mansa, Vacha, Karmana. So that means our system was culture also so developed that they could analyze what the three aspects of mind are. The same is mentioned in Guru Sab also, Man Bach Karam. Now the system is based, psychology system is based on this aspect. Now once we come to the psychology tests of SSB, then there are four tests, namely TAT, WAT, SRT and ST. So in this test, a candidate is with himself. He can't talk to anybody. The tests are conducted in total silence, where he's told this is the exercise to be done, shown a picture, you write a story, and there's a lot of time pressure on a candidate, and he has to finish in the given time. He cannot refer to anything, he can't talk to anybody. So it is pure thoughts translating into words, and that is assessed by the, and that's why it's the most difficult, because the other tasks you are in an open environment, there are some breaks in between. This is a task in which you are with your own self and your thoughts have to be brought on the paper. And on the psychologists, trained psychologists which are there, they will analyze your responses and they will make a personality profile. The similar task is done in the GTO ground, right? And then
And interviewing. So if for example, if you were to interview me in the third stage, what is one question that will help you understand me deeper and better? And that's one question that GTOs often ask their candidates.
Uh, direct questions are asked by interviewing officer. GTO doesn't ask any direct questions because he's always gives the situation, the task to the group. But one question which generally is asked: why you would, if Shivam is to go for SSB, I would certainly like to know why you want to join Defense Forces. So that will give me an insight at what you are looking for in a career. And the app
Understand their motivation.
there could be different motivations of different people. A person coming from a very civilian background must have been so motivated seeing, sometimes I've seen answer to this, that I got so motivated seeing a Republic Day parade. I got so motivating seeing my friend's father in Defense Forces. I took NCC and and the last one very important aspect I found in some students, they said, sir, we really want to be a leader and lead from the front. So there could be different motivations what a person will have, why he wants to join the Defense Forces. So that's the question I would like to understand when a person is coming from different backgrounds. Army officer, army person's son may say, "My dad was there, I saw him."
Hmm.
So that what motivates you to become?
It's their life at the end of the day. They are giving all of themselves to the nation first. So you really have to understand their motivation and where they're coming from and what do they want to get out of it as well.
See, I'll just give one example. I did my graduation from St. Xavier's, Mumbai. That was that time the top college of number one in the country. Even today, I think it is.
Hmm.
And all my classmates had only one thing: aspiration to go to US to do their PhDs and masters. And I was the odd man out who wanted to be in the defense forces, and they did go, right? So the requires a very different kind of a challenge and a thought. What you actually want to look forward.
And for you, your motivation was also your father, who you saw, giving his life and all himself to the armed forces as well. And that must have been really inspiring as well. When it comes to interviews, you said they check on the motivation aspect of it. What is one answer which backfires when this question is asked, sir? And the most aspirants answer it in a way which doesn't help their case to be.
Actually, interview is quite a long process. It's about generally takes about 45 to about 1 hour. Sometimes goes beyond 1 hour. This was just one aspect of the
Yeah.
question. At the beginning of you said, no, what at the beginning. Thereafter, the interview analyzes a person's career in his academics. The interview officer will analyze. He'll go through a complete academic records. He'll ask you questions about your academic performance, how you participate in your activities while you are studying in a school or college. He would also delve deep into your family. He also likes to know in what kind of family upbringing you had. Just at times there could be a lot of personal questions which you would not hear of in corporate interviews. In SSB interviews, you will find a lot of personal questions that going deep into your personal life also, because we feel that your personal life also influences your personality. Then the third aspect, we also judge questions related to your spare time activities, your hobbies. What are you are a person when you're not studying or when you're not playing?
Your hobby,
Yeah.
basically.
And then lastly, there's a very important aspect of an awareness. How aware are you of the surroundings, of the country, of the world, geopolitics, what is happening around, right? And like you initially mentioned, defense forces undergoing a lot of changes. So you also see if you are really interested in serving the defense forces. Are you aware of the defense forces? Some basic knowledge is available on the internet. Have you had the pains of going through it and knowing about it? So that will show your interest. How much interest have you generated in yourself if you want to be in this organization? So the interview basically focuses on all these aspects of a candidate. So it's about 45-minute to 1 hour process, one-to-one talk with the senior officer who will delve upon these aspects of your personality.
So, but I still didn't get my answer, sir. I want to understand what is the mistake. If there was one mistake someone makes and the interviewing officer catches on that, what mistake would you try to tell your students that this is a no? This is a big pitfall, and if you do that, your chances goes long time down.
Actually, I'll correct you here, Shivam. There is no one answer which is the wrong answer or the mistake. It is like a conversation. The interview goes like we are talking. The IO, the interview officer called IO, will talk to you in a very friendly way. He won't let you feel that you've given some wrong answer.
Agreed. But he would still analyze and assess your answers, and he would see her, he's not interested. For example, when you ask the motivational one, and if someone says that or he gives a fake answer, or he doesn't, validate his hobbies or his passion.
That aspect, if you lie, if the IO interviewing officer finds out what he's actually very well trained. If you find that you're lying or trying to, fake up something, then of course that's really going to be backfiring as the process is concerned.
So just be yourself.
Yes, be yourself.
Be your real self.
Right.
Apply all the training that
Motivation, show me good knowledge, and don't lie about it. There are times when people have tried to, put fake or give some answer, make up an answer, and if it has been caught, I don't recommend my students to, say anything lie. They should be very truthful in their response.
Roger. So now we have seen women officers also integrate in the TRI services. Do you think the assessment and the yardstick has shifted when it comes to its physical standard, in terms of the mindset, in terms of mixed team dynamics?
No, I don't think there's been any, standards have been, lowered for them or something. They're exactly the same standard. And let me put it, I've seen so many of my girl candidates who have been selected. In fact, very recently, the first batch of girl candidates who passed out of NDA, I had a student who was joined by me. Now she joined the Naval Academy. So their standards are, their girls are competing very well. In fact, to give you one instance, one of my students was a girl. She was daughter of an officer. She joined the Air Force Academy. So while she was training, I was not in touch with her directly. I asked some other student who called me on a Sunday to tell us how it is going.
Mhm.
So I asked them, how is it going, and I asked about that girl also who had joined. He said, sir, she is putting us all to shame. I said, she's putting you all to shame? And these boys are telling me. I said, how come? Sir, whenever we have the cross country race, she's always ahead of us. I was shocked. This, girl whom I trained, she was giving a lot of competition to the boys. So I think girl candidates are doing very well. Even in services, they are doing well. And both SSB aspects, they're all competing. Rather, their vacancies are very less, and the number of aspirant girls are much
High.
yeah, very high.
That's good to hear, sir. And that's good that we are diversifying and giving everyone an equal chance to prove themselves and serve the nation at the end of the day.
When this was introduced, the girl entry for NDA, I think it was 4 years back, and their applications had closed in high. I think Supreme Court or one court had given that no against some PIL, and they said that it will girls candidates will be taken in. So the UPSC opened the portal again to allow girls candidate to fill the application form. I think it was 2020, if I'm not wrong, or 21. 21. The newspaper clipping after 1 month read that the vacancies which the NDA gave to girls were, I think, about 25 vacancies, Army, Navy, Air Force included, and 1,75,000 girls applied in that window which was specially opened. Right.
Wow.
So that shows the motivation for the girls to serve the nation with defense forces.
Beautiful, sir. That's really inspiring to know that we are undergoing a lot of changes, and gender diversification is also something that we're looking at. Now, I would love you to tell us a little about your initiative, which you've been working on for years now. Amas Training is your brainchild. Do you want to briefly tell the audience about Amas Training and how to be a part of it as well?
Yeah. So it all started when I left army on 22nd June 2018 was the last day in uniform. And I didn't have much plan, but I had done one entrepreneurship course. And before that, in service, I had done one executive MBA from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. And I wanted to have my own setup. I wanted to be entrepreneur in this field of personality development and SSB. So I also did a short course at Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship in Noida. That was part of my resettlement course. So I started in a very small way in my own house with few students who came in with my personal connections who knew me. So I said, okay, I'm turning pro, right? So I'm going to give you some guidance. And they came in and we worked hard on that first batch. First batch came in, turned about I think 7 or 8 students only. And I think from our the 7 or 8 students, three students cleared SSB.
Wow.
In the first 3 months. So that gave us a real confidence, real fillip that we are on the right lines when we're getting one. And then a lot of people approached me that I should advertise. So I'll give you my concept. In this field, that is the field of mentoring, right? Advertisement doesn't work. Word of mouth works.
That is your advertisement.
That is my
Your
advertisement, and I focused it from day one. My students were going to be my ambassadors. I even call them today. At the end of every batch, I say, from today you are our ambassadors. If you felt happy, if you felt that yes, something you have gained, then you will tell others. It was very less. I didn't spend any money on advertisement as far as AMAS is concerned.
Wow.
And these first 3 students, they sent me another 10 students. The second batch had 10 students. Like that, we kept growing. And now we have a batch of 100 students in each. And that is with a selection. So about 300 approximately per batch they approach us. And we have initially a meeting with each candidate we talk to before we take him in.
Good.
And whom we feel has the potential,
Nice.
we take him in. Today we have a team. We have about 10 officers who are working as a team together because we need interviewing officers.
Absolutely.
GTOs, we
You need a proper process for the entire
And then another 4 or 5 teachers, like who are training in personality, who are training in language, who are training in general knowledge, training in current affairs. So we have this program which is a amalgamation of all these aspects which a good candidate should require. So there's a whole team now working.
Like I said, you doing a lot of service to the nation as well as these young officers, young aspirants who wants to be officers. But there's only limitation to how many people you can get in. But on top of that, you also written 2 books on the subject of SSB, which has the entire overview of everything when it comes to the psychology, the interview. You have broken down into these 2 books that we have behind us. You have put it into 2 volumes. There's a complete guide, and then this one talks more about the question and answer of the SSB, the questions that are asked. Do you briefly want to speak about these
Yeah, you
books?
see, when I started this in 2018, there always books available for SSB. And when I used to see those books in hands of candidates, sometimes I picked up, where are you referring to before coming to MR? So they would have some book. There are about 15, 20 titles in SSB coaching. But I found that was the gap. So when my student went to SSB, when they came back, I took some feedback from them, what are the kind of questions they were asked. And then I thought, let me put that all together and give them the right approach. So this volume 1 is giving the approach, telling them what are the tests which are there. And it also has a lot of general GK points which they should know, general awareness. It's also basic military knowledge, because a student who wants to know basic military knowledge keeps doing Google, and Google will show tits and bits, some part. Here I've tried to give the basic knowledge which is available in public domain, but I've put them in one place, right? So this first book came as a ready reckoner, and with Pentagon Press being the leading publisher of the country in defense books, right? I found that the apt place where I could, give this, and we called it do it yourself. Right? People sometimes don't have time to come for 3 weeks to me, and I don't want to boast, but I got 2, 3 messages on Instagram saying, "Sir, I've cleared my SSB purely reading this book."
Wow.
So I said, well, I can't take the credit of it. Thank you so much. I told that candidate on Instagram, I answered him, you can put a review on the place you bought the book from, Amazon or whatever. So this book came in like that. Now, the second gap appeared after 3 years of my into this field, where the student said, "Sir, you have given us, based on the feedback our students are giving, these are the kind of tests. But after we finished training at AMAS, how do we go ahead? What do we do till the time we go for SSB? Sometimes the gap is 1 week, some the gap is 3 months, right? When they finish a training. So again, they go back to, there are channels on Telegram and other social media where, some students will keep sharing, and then again, what is going on there is correct or wrong, they didn't know. So that pulled me into when I started writing this volume.
The frequently asked questions.
So from my knowledge and my experience, I answered those questions here, so that the students who are practicing now have the right answers also with them. Like if this question asked, then these are the good options when they can all answer.
Wow. So you're doing a lot for these students. You are having an offline setup where you are having a proper 6 weeks training,
3 weeks.
3 weeks training. Then you have some offline classes as well that you inculcate for these students that are part of the training program. Then you have done your books. But now, sir, I want to take this initiative to the third step now, where we DOAP partner with your organization and create a series of tools that students can utilize.
Yes, certainly we should do that. And because you have a good audience, and we will have a series of short videos where we can talk in more detail of each aspect. So, like to add to this, that very recently we have started even the preparation of students for the written aspect, because first level, when the student is dreaming to be an officer, he has to clear a very difficult UPSC written exam for NBA and for CDS. So we have a team now in place which will train them for the written exam as well. So they clear the written, and then for SSB our offline setup is there. So
Wow.
everything under one shop is
Absolutely.
now.
So if this podcast reaches a lot of people and is able to get 10,000 likes, sir will take out time and create a series for you guys where he breaks down the 3 aspects of GTO, the site test, and the interview process as well. And give you more insights as to what you need to do to prepare for it. The books of both sirs' book, the link of both sirs' book will be in the description below. Please have a look. It's going to be really helpful for your process. And the last question that I want to ask, sir, is I asked all my guests this question, sir. If there was one book that you wish you would have read earlier in life, because this podcast is called Diary of a Publisher, we need to include something when it comes to a book. So is there any book that changed your perspective on life, how you see right now, sir?
So actually, there are many books, but then I put all my thoughts together, and I created my own book.
Wow.
And this book is Agakutra. It's a mantra to move into everlasting success. One of us, we want success in life, right? Nobody wants that his life is get stagnated at any stage. I also finished one career and I wanted to move into another one. So this Agakutra is a mantra basically which talks of keep looking ahead, don't look back. So there's a short story in this book of a protagonist who has faced some midlife crisis and he wants to move on. So he goes to Himalayas and he's sits with a seed for a week time and he tells them, start looking little differently to life and this is not the end of it. Move ahead. So this book gives a mantra. I think it's not maybe not for the youngsters, but yes, anybody can use it. Who's finding how do I get a move into continuous process of success. So there's 130 pages, actually easily readable in about 2 to 3 days time, and it has been very recently released. So this book, maybe students are keen.
So for those of people don't know, sir is not just focusing on SSB, but he has also done a PhD in the subject of geopolitics. He understands different subjects. He understands ancient wisdom as well through ancient scriptures. So there's a holistical overview connection which he has brought down into 100-hour pages of this book. And if there's this book, struck a chord, if you think success is something that you're looking for and you want an easy tool to inculcate in your life. It's never easy to inculcate success, but to understand some principles in an easier way, this book is a must read as well. And sir, thank you again for taking out time on Sunday because you're so busy. You had to come on Sunday and record this conversation. But I would repeat that if there is a good reach of this podcast, we will do a series where we break down the tools of SSB even deeper. And we will have you over again. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an insightful conversation. I'm sure the audience had a lot of takeaways.
Thank you so much, Yul. Wish you all the best.
If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, keep reimagining yourself and know that the power of change lies within you. Jai Hind.